my name's Alicia and I'll be talking about interpretation of different writing styles and how important that is. It's really important before you write anything, whether it's an email or a memo or a presentation or anything, that you know who your audience is. You want to be really clear and concise. And if you don't know who they are, you're going to come across maybe in the wrong demeanor or sending the wrong message because you didn't do your research beforehand. When writing in business, especially in my job, it's super easy to turn a formal email into a really casual email to my boss. I personally tend to insert emojis into everything, which isn't very professional and isn't very good, but I always find that it takes a serious situation and makes it less serious if I throw in like a smiley face or a sad face, but not professional. It also sometimes sends the wrong message, and it's something you shouldn't do if you're talking to parents or behavioral analysts or management, because they don't like it and it's not really the best idea. There was an article by Winthrop University that talked about applying the indirect and direct approach, which we talked about in class and in our textbook and we covered. It says that people will interpret your writing in a neutral or a positive tone if you use a direct approach. It's a better approach to use. The direct approach gives you the point right away and all your supporting evidence after. It's a more assertive approach, and when your audience is reading it, it makes it more clear for interpretation. They're not going to get mixed messages. They're not going to interpret things that they shouldn't. The facts are straight up and what they want is straight up. It's the best approach. There's also the indirect approach though, where you present your evidence first and then you say what you want, which leaves quite a bit of room for different interpretations. It's not clear, it's not concise. People can take whatever they want from that and just go with it. We don't want that in any business or academic writing, because you've already lost your audience before you've got to your point, and that's not good. They do say that the direct approach is a better approach. If you have some harsh or not good information you don't want everyone to get upset about, it's better to use the direct approach because people will get to the point right away. This is what we want. It's just better. And that's something to consider too. If you have an audience and managers and you present budgets that aren't very good, it's better to be, I guess, indirect than direct about it. Also in the textbook, it talks a lot about the you attitude. And I found this in almost every article I researched, and I watched YouTube videos and TED Talks about writing and interpretation of writing and how not to interpret wrong things from writing. So I sort of researched on the other side of the fence too, because I find that this is something I do quite a bit of, and I tend to interpret the wrong things sometimes. So they talk about the you attitude, and it's important because it straight off the bat, it takes into account your audience. And that is so important, again, very important. It's always better to write in your audience's perspective because it'll be more clear for them to interpret. It's not going to be very vague, and it'll come across exactly what you want to say and what you want to happen. It also avoids your message coming across negative. So if you write from their point of view, it's going to be more positive and more happy and clear, unless you're writing from your point of view and it's like no. The next thing I would like to discuss is also for formal versus informal writing. I made these visuals and I wrote them out, and I just give some pointers about what formal writing is and how to incorporate it into your writing. So it's always professional. Your structure is always clear. Your wording is usually sophisticated. You're not using just casual writing, and your style is very professional. You're not using emojis like I mentioned. It has a smooth flow. It's very organized. And there's no you or I in there. That's sort of informal when you would add that. And punctuation at the very bottom, but not forgotten, is super important also. I know my boss has horrible punctuation, and before I can even interpret what she wants us to do from her emails or her memos, I have to go back with a red pen and I have to recorrect all her words, put periods in there, fix her run-on sentences, her commas, all that. And it just, I can't even do anything with it. I can't interpret anything from it until the punctuation's fixed. So personally, I think punctuation is a huge one, something I use every day, something I have to fix every day. And I just think that if you're writing formally, you should really be careful about your punctuation. And nowadays with technology and computers and social messenger, especially for the younger generation, the grammar and the punctuation is highly lacking. It's also important to take into account that when you're writing formally, you're citing references, which I found a lot from all the English courses I've taken, that we usually do that with APA or MLA style, and depending on what your professor asks you for, and you're not using any cliches or metaphors. That sort of makes it casual in a casual tone. And yeah, use sophisticated vocab, and you avoid contractions. I made another slide for informal writing and how this would people would interpret from your writing. When you talk about informal writing, it's very personal. So your audience may not have a lot to interpret from your writing if you're just writing a letter, a casual email. It's your friends or family, and no one you have a non-professional relationship with. But I sort of disagree with that, because your university professor is someone you have not a professional relationship with, but is someone of importance, and I'm not going to write a casual email to my university professor. It's probably going to be more formal. You're not going to use first or second pronouns, and vague words you can use. You will use first or second pronouns, and no vague words. I disagree with that about informal writing. I think that it would be more slang that you would be using. Slang words like LOL, and sometimes I write run-on sentences. I was writing an email or a text to my friend. Vague words are sort of can always be misinterpreted. And text messages and social messaging and all that stuff, it's always misinterpreted. It's never a good idea to write anything to anybody in a text message. Those are a little bit, another slide there. And it's also just important that to reference that if you're writing an informal email or message, you can use humor, because will be interpreted by your friends and family a lot better than if you're writing an email to your boss or a letter or memo and you're using humor. It's sometimes it's going to go over that well. It's just really important for interpretation that you know your audience, you know what type of style, informal, direct, indirect, that you use, so you're knowing what message is getting across, and that's super important. And I hope you liked my presentation on interpretation of writing styles and interpretation of writing styles, and I hope that if you use these little tips and tricks, that it will help you write and get what you want from your presentations, and your audience will get your clear message and everything will work out. And that's all, and have a nice day. Bye.